Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you. It's 10 o'clock, and my name is Tim Harris. This is 10 with Tim. Each day, Monday through Friday, we go verse by verse through the Word of God. We're right now finishing up 2 Samuel, about to start something new in a couple of weeks. We'll talk about that later. But today we're in 2 Samuel chapter 19, verses 24 to 43. As we were talking yesterday, David now is trying to clean up the aftermath of a civil war that was mounted by an army led by his enemy son, Absalom. Absalom is dead now, it's his son. And David has managed to just suppress and in some ways disguise all of his personal feelings in order to do his job as the king. Life goes on, but it's messy. And this is something of a mess. David is trying to placate different parties in the kingdom without alienating any of them. He has to reward and encourage those who have supported him, especially his army, his soldiers, and all of those who took great risk to throw their support behind him. He has to win over those who were sort of on the fence and help them understand that the nation's now moving forward with himself as king. And then he has to win over those who had gone with Absalom. He has to show them that he will be a man of peace and a man of reconciliation and unity for the nation. That's why it's important. Again, we're meeting the same people on the way back into town that we met on the way out of town. And these first three, Ziba, Shammai, and Mephibosheth, are very important because they're all Saulists. You know what I mean? They are loyalists to Saul. They are related to Saul. They are from the tribe of Benjamin, which is Saul's tribe. And so this is that party, that faction in the country that has always been more or less on the side of Saul and resenting David and wishing that David had never taken the throne. And so David is going out of his way to show incredible kindness to those who would have been aligned with Saul, the tribe of Benjamin. Which brings us today to Mephibosheth. This is where our passage picks up. Remember, Mephibosheth is the crippled son of Jonathan. And David had pledged to Jonathan that he would care for his offspring, his children. And so as a pledge to Jonathan, David continues to care for Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth is at a place at his table. But during the Civil War, things got kind of janky. Remember how Ziba showed up, and Ziba said that Mephibosheth was taking this opportunity with the chaos in the kingdom to try and retake the throne, in the name of Saul. And David just believed that or didn't have enough time to think anything. So David just, kind of impulsively gave everything that belonged to Mephibosheth to Ziba. And so that was that old story. But now he runs into Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth shows up. He's not cared for his feet. He's not trimmed his beard. He's not washed his skin and, hadn't even done a wash in all this time. So understand, Mephibosheth has the appearance of mourning. Either that or abandonment. He's crippled, so we don't know to what degree he's actually able to take care of himself. But the real question is, why didn't he come with David? If he's loyal to David, why didn't he leave with David when David was taking all of his family, his household, and his supporters with him out of Jerusalem? Why did Mephibosheth stay back? And Mephibosheth tells a brand new story. It's not the story that Ziba tells. He says that Ziba deceived me. I asked Ziba to saddle up my donkey so I could go with the king. And instead, he went to you and he told you a big lie. And I'm crippled. Did I mention that I'm crippled? I mean, this is what Mephibosheth does. I'm crippled. And so when Ziba ran off with my donkey, I was stuck at home. I couldn't even clip my toenails. Because did I mention that I'm crippled? I sort of listened to Mephibosheth's story here. David, you just do what you think is best. Now I'm crippled, and you've always been good to me, though. And even though me and all my family, you could have killed us. You've always been really kind to me, and you've let me eat at your table because I'm crippled. And did I mention that I'm crippled? But you've always been so good to me, so you just go right ahead and you do what you think is best with me being crippled and all. I mean, it's sort of like that. Gosh, you've been so good to me. I don't know what else I could ask for. If you just want to kill a crippled boy, you go ahead. I mean, I think that the scripture intentionally kind of leaves us like, I don't know who to believe. Was Ziba telling the truth? I don't think so. Mephibosheth doesn't look like a threat to the throne. I mean, he can't even clip his own toenails. I mean, I don't think he's a threat. And if you're just kind of looking at it, it looks more like maybe Ziba is the ambitious one and Ziba lied, but now Mephibosheth, this doesn't really, I don't know if I can believe Mephibosheth either. And David doesn't really try to sort it out. Do you notice that? Because again, he's kind of suppressing, disguising his personal feelings at this point. He's a politician. He's doing the politically expedient thing. And right now, the last thing he needs is for any of the tribe of Benjamin or any of the people who were aligned with Saul to have a reason to be mad. And that's Mephibosheth and that's Ziba both. So kind of like Solomon's going to do in the future, David got to make a decision. He just splits the difference. He just says, let's just cut it in half. Let Ziba have half and Mephibosheth, you take half. I mean, he just kind of splits the difference. He doesn't try to figure out he didn't call in witnesses. Ain't nobody got time for that, He just says, okay, Mephibosheth, you take half of what was yours. Ziba's going to have the other half. And Mephibosheth at that point says, wow, that's fantastic. I'm just happy that you're back, King. So who knows? But David's smart. David does the right thing. David splits the difference. And then comes back with Barzillai. Remember, Barzillai is one of those rich farmers who was so generous and supportive of David when he was still on the run. Barzillai and Sheba and that other dude, what's his name? It's not Micah. It's something like that. Makar? I forget his name. I'm bad with names. Anyway, Barzillai is back. And David wants to show kindness to Barzillai. Now, again, David's a politician. And at this point, all of the alliances he can forge, and Barzillai is from the south, and to be able to sort of unite, the north and south right now will be very, very important. And so he says, Barzillai, why don't you come back, to Washington with me, and I'm going to give you a cabinet position. I will make you my Secretary of Agriculture, or how would you like, I can make you the ambassador, to Zimbabwe. I mean, just kind of whatever you want. I'd love you to come back and live in the capital with me and be a part of the government. Barzillai's a smart man. He's also an old man. He's 80 years old. And at this point, again, Barzillai is a powerful man too. So in some ways, this is two powerful political men who are sort of negotiating and marking out their territory. And don't miss the fact that Barzillai basically declares a kind of independence. No thanks, I'm good is kind of a bold response when the king has just offered you, a cabinet position. No thanks, I'm good. It's sort of a declaration of independence there. So don't miss that. Barzillai's not exactly going to form that alliance, but he sort of does. He says, I'm 80, and I'm really more of a farmer. And, I'm really much more Carhartt than, fancy clothes. And I don't really want to live in the city with you. For one thing, I'm too old. I can't eat all that city food, man. I got this spastic colon. And if I eat all those fancy foods in your palace, it's going to go right through me. I'm 80 years old. And besides, I am deaf. If you take me to a show, I can't even hear the music, So I'm 80. I'm going to stay where I am. But listen, I got this son. His name's Kimham. I got this son, and maybe you could give him a scholarship and take him to the city with you, because I think, that'd be good for my boy. So that's what David does. He takes Kimham, which in some ways is as good as Barzillai, because again, the alliance is forged, the kindness is shown, and David takes the son of Barzillai, Kimham, into the capital with him. What you see here, though, next, 41, 42, 43, is just this sign of the mess of things. It's still a mess. And there is this constant tension. It wasn't started by the revolution under Absalom, that whole civil war. It didn't begin there, but it obviously didn't end there either. There's this tension between North and South. And they get into an argument like toddlers over, who's king? Is David? Who does David like best? And the the tribes from Judah just say, he's our guy. He's one of us. And the tribes from the north are saying, yeah, but there are more of us. There are 10 tribes in the north and 2 tribes in the south. And so, I think that we own more of the king than you have. And, it's just this sort of demonstration of how, power just continues to have its effects and its consequences. And there's danger always in it. And so for all of David's efforts to unify the country, that country ain't never going to be completely unified. You got north and south, and they continue to voice and have conflict over their differences. That's not going to change. Tomorrow we pick up right there in chapter 20. There's going to be, poor David, he has got a lot on his plate, but when you're down, it's sometimes a good time for the enemy to strike. And so tomorrow another civil war begins, another revolt led by a man named Sheba. We'll pick up right there tomorrow. Chapter 20, verses 1 to 26. This won't be as long as the one with Absalom, I promise. Chapter 20, verses 1 to 26. Listen, have a good Wednesday and stay in the Word. I'll see you in the morning, Lord willing, at 10 o'clock for 10 with Tim. I love you guys.